I waited in my cooking area, the atmosphere heavy with the aroma of burned herbs and frying meat, when my relatives' chuckles shifted to poison, their stares shining like blades while my sibling charged me with deserting them. My heart ached, yet my hidden truth was a rock pressing down on me for ages. I'd served as their quiet protector and they showed no concern at all. Curious about how I shattered that deception? Stick around. This hurts profoundly and it's genuine. I'm called Nathan Cole, aged 41, residing in Boise, Idaho, inside a house where the early light pours through wooden-bordered panes. On that autumn night, I aimed to repair the breaks in my kin, to reveal a victory I'd struggled hard for. I'd recently been appointed chief designer at my company, a position shaped from extended evenings, drawing plans, pursuing time limits, and demonstrating I was beyond the child who always stood out oddly. I pictured my folks beaming grins, my siblings' reluctant admiration, my aunt's kind gesture. I hoped they'd notice me at last. The cooking space became my artwork. I'd devoted hours seeking out the ideal components. Meat from a nearby shopkeeper, herbs so new they pricked my skin, vegetables baked till they split apart like hidden facts. My spouse, Mara, poked fun at me while we carried sacks from the vehicle, kidding that I'd purchased sufficient to nourish part of the town. I arranged the dining surface with care. Earthen dishes piled like shields, flames flickering brightly, a selection of soft string sounds vibrating in the space. My child, Ivy, assisted me in mixing batter for bread, her giggles loosening the tension in my stomach. I'd welcomed my mother and father, Ruth and Leonard, my brother, Seth, my aunt, June, and some relatives, envisioning their amazement as I revealed my advancement. Yet the mood seemed off right when they showed up. Seth strolled in delayed, his shoes scratching my wooden floor, his focus glued to his device. Ruth's hug felt chilly, her mouth hardly stirring. Leonard dropped into a seat, complaining about the trip from Nampa. June chattered on about her plants, but her tone was fragile, like withered foliage. Ivy met my gaze, her tiny scowl reflecting the discomfort I sensed, a throb of something bitter, like spoiled dairy. I dismissed it, attributing it to anxiety. This evening was meant to unite us, to display who I'd evolved into. I was completely mistaken. While I cut the meat, vapor rising like spirits, Seth's device chimed. He smirked, pointed and cruel, then handed it to June. She read it, her lips pressing together, and pushed it back. Their looks darted toward me, swift and hunting, then aside. The string sounds hummed, loaded with something unidentified, like a tempest building beyond view. I lifted my cup, my neck constricted, and began to talk. I achieved the elevation. I stated, pushing calmness. Lead designer, seasons of effort, and I succeeded. Silence. No movements, no expressions of joy. Ruth gazed at her dish, her utensil unmoving. Leonard hacked, rough and parched. Then Seth rose, his seat scraping loudly, his stares like stone. Mom and Dad claim you've never done anything for us. He snarled, his words a sword across the area. The group erupted, June applauding, relatives thumping their palms, Ruth agreeing as if it were fact etched in rock. Ivy's cup fell, her gaze broad with sorrow. Myra's digits clasped mine beneath the surface, her hold a rescue line. The phrases scorched, but something inside me split wide. I got up, my grin uneven like fractured frost. Truly, I replied, my tone quiet, deadly. Then the $10,000 I've been covering for your housing each month stops this evening. Leonard's cup shattered, liquid spreading like crimson. Ruth's inhale faltered, her palm gripping her cloth. The applauding ceased, the space so motionless I detected the flames flickering. What? Seth gasped, his assurance breaking. I remained steady. You caught that, I responded, but that's not even a portion of it. For 7 cycles, I'd been their support. Each period, $10,000 transferred to maintain Ruth and Leonard's residence in Nampa secure. Another $600 for their services, $1,500 for Leonard's treatments following his health event. More than $500,000 funds drawn from my extras, my additional hours, my visions of a household retreat. I'd missed Ivy's creative sessions, postponed evenings out with Mara, all to sustain them. And they were unaware. Or more terrible they were, and permitted Seth to wound me regardless. The cooking area turned into a battlefield at that point. Ruth's tone fractured. Nathan, you never mentioned. Leonard's expression was pale, his limbs shaking. You're inventing it, Seth whispered, but his gaze revealed him. June attempted to ease things, murmuring about kin errors, but her phrases rang empty. Ivy looked at me, her expression divided between wonder and anguish. Mara's digits squeezed harder, stabilizing me. 7 cycles, I declared, my tone rising. I handled your housing, your medications, your blasted heater when it failed last cold season. And you support this. Seth moved closer, his mockery distorting. You're twisting this to appear honorable. I chuckled, a harsh, sour noise that grated my passage. Review the financial records, I suggested, or question Aunt June. She's been aware for ages. June's face snapped upward, her complexion paling. The space quieted, each stare fixing her. She stuttered. I figured it wasn't my concern. The falsehood collapsed like dust. Another injury, another bite. It becomes more severe, I announced, my tone sharp. Far more severe. The atmosphere was stifling, dense with their remorse and rejection. My limb trembled, but my tone stayed solid. You believe I'm worthless, I stated, meeting Seth's gaze. I've supported you all and you attack me. Ruth's sobs arrived, gentle and planned. Leonard whispered, we weren't informed, his sight on the ground. June shoved her dish aside, her digits fidgeting. My relatives dodged my gaze, their cheers overlooked. Ivy's tone pierced, tiny but strong. Dad, why didn't you inform me? My core broke apart. I'd concealed it to protect her from their malice. But now it was spilling forth and I couldn't halt it. I desired to shout, to break the dishes, to force them to sense the load I'd carried. Instead, I declared, I'm finished. The phrases dropped like stones, absolute and inflexible. Myra agreed with a nod, her gaze intense with backing. Seth parted his lips, but I cut across. No further funds, no further deceptions. You're disconnected. The cooking area became a grave for their hopes, and I was prepared to close it. But the actual reality, the one that would break me, was still lurking. 5 days afterward, my device vibrated with a message from June. I was in my workspace, Boise horizon faint through the misty glass. Her tone was unsteady, pressing. Nathan, Seth was aware. He's been informed about the funds for ages. He boasted to me last autumn, chuckling that you were acting the champion while he didn't need to contribute. My veins chilled. Seth hadn't merely blamed me without basis. He'd recognized every effort I'd invested in our parents' existence and allowed me to drown beneath it. He'd observed me give up, understanding I was destroying myself, and remained silent. Worse, he'd planned that evening's assault, gathering them to conceal his own weakness. I remained seated, my device shaking in my grasp as the fact tore into me. My sibling, the one I'd rescued from obligations, protected during his job losses, defended when Ruth labeled him a disappointment. He deceived me most profoundly. The cooking area reappeared, his smirk, his elevated cup, his falsehoods. I restricted his contact, then Ruth's, then Leonard's. I contacted my attorney, securing our finances, cutting every connection. They'd received plenty, the residence they forfeited to removal last week. Their responsibility now. Seth's position at a storage facility, moving crates for basic pay, his decision, I was completed. I observe Ivy today, her grin radiant as she draws at the dining surface, and Mara, who embraces me when the regret sneaks back. They're my kin, the ones who recognize me, who don't require my essence to confirm my value. I wasted cycles pursuing acceptance from individuals who'd never offer it, investing my existence into their emptiness. Releasing it was torment, but it liberated me. I'm not the antagonist they depicted, and I'm not their support any longer. If you've ever needed to depart to preserve yourself, you understand that burden.